Welcome back, everybody, to the desk. My name is Ardog with the Triple G's, and I'm your host here at the PCC. I am joined by some very handsome men here: Sockcap, Richter God, YouTuber, and content creator. How are you doing, Sock?
Hey, sorry, I'm good.
There we go.
I'm good. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm so excited for this next game we'll be watching. And of course, you can't forget Joe, yours truly, with those aviator sunglasses, offlaner extraordinaire, content creator, and QA tester for Omega, here at the desk. How's it going, Joey?
It is going splendid, Arthur. I kind of figured we start off really strong right from the get-go, so I'm putting on the shades for the first time right at the start of the gates.
Look at that. We're still here at the Swiss stage, but you guys just made him bring out the sunglasses here. If you guys watched that last game we just saw, we saw that both of those teams were 2-0. But now the teams we're watching at the current Swiss stage are both 3-0. We didn't mention who we were going to see, but if you want to keep up with who's going to be playing, who's winning, what are the current score or the standings right now, type !bracket in the chat to find out, and follow that link to find all that information. But we will be watching the Professors and Flow State. Wow, what a game number 4 this is going to be as well. So I'm going to be asking, because this is surprise, we're not watching Indecisive this time again. But Joey, the Professors, what do we know about them?
Yeah, so Professors are like veterans in this kind of competitive scene. They've been in many grand finals from before. They have won some grand finals. They are definitely some of the more favorite teams to go winning all in this like PCC 7 right here. And so big reason for that is that all of these players in the respective roles are like some of the best. We got like Nitro on the offlaner, 6 jungle has always been fantastic to watch. So we put just the WT Warrior in the mid lane role right there. And of course, the Survivor Crazy Fool duo is just very, very deadly. So every role, every heal player on this team right here are just like can all win and carry their games in their own way. So it's very hard to find these cracks and find these weaknesses to abuse from all these teams right here.
You're right. And Nitro, he was PCC 5 winner. He plays a lot of Grux. You've got 6, who was also winner of PCC. And of course, the Professors, they were the champions for PCC number 5. These guys already won a PCC tournament, and that's expected from them because currently they're 3-0 in the Swiss stage right now. But going to the other team right now, Sockcap, what can you tell us about Flow State?
They've got a lot of really, really solid players too. I mean, they're kind of going to be the underdogs in this set, I think. But I think that we can expect good things about them. Bry is a very, very solid mid lane player. He can pretty much play anybody. Peak, he's been playing a lot of what looks like to be Xeris this go around. So also just a very, very, very solid player. Jay, of course, everybody knows him as ADC, you know. I mean, he's just doesn't really need any explanation. He's a solid ADC through and through. So I think they really have quite a solid lineup. So I think that the Professors will hopefully not sleep on them, because if they do, they're gonna probably find themselves in a little bit of trouble. So.
Yeah, and that's the question we're all asking as we go into this game number 4. But while the draft is being prepared, Joey, we were kind of watching that there were a lot of bans on Rampage, there were a lot of bans on Argus. Is that something you're expecting before we head into the draft?
Yes, I believe we're going to be seeing those kind of usual picks. Professor is a little bit odd case in the sense that they're one of the ones that are vocal about the August, like, hey guys, we actually don't think August is all that hard stuff, so feel free to pick him, but just know that we have ways to shut you down. So sometimes in these like scrims they let the August kind of go through, and then they have ways to kind of counteract that. And same thing for Rampage too, in the sense that like Six is not really like a Rampage player. He can definitely play the Rampage, but he's also more like a Crunch Collide player. So even though Rampage is not always like banned out in the first round and stuff, sometimes we see professors ban the Rampage just because Six wanted to go play other junglers as well.
Yeah, and that's something we definitely saw looking at the previous drafts, the previous games. Rampage, Argus, these guys will either be in the match or they're going to be completely banned and taken out. But Richter, going over to Flow State, we know Bry is like one of his favorite players or heroes is Gadget. And what else do we know about this team in terms of heroes, and what do they like to play?
Flow State. I mean, Bry's a Gadget player. Wussy, I believe, has been playing a lot of Decker, Richter, and Bellica. So those three kind of support heroes are very, very solid picks. Simba and been playing a lot of jungle recently, and he historically, at least every time I play against him, plays a lot of Feng Mao. So, I mean, I'm not sure what we'll see comp-wise with them. I haven't really seen anything that they've been cooking up. It seems like they've just been kind of practicing everything in the hopes of being on top of everything and being comfortable with every pick. So I don't know. And if they come across any sort of unique strats from professors, I don't know how they're going to handle that. I don't know if professors has been cooking up anything kind of unique that we haven't seen before. Maybe we'll see that this game. I don't know, but I'm excited for this match. I mean, I think we've got 10 really, really, really solid players, so it should be an exciting match.
Definitely will be. Without further ado, let's jump right into this draft. All right, Joey, we talked about Argus, we talked about Rampage. What else are you expecting? Perhaps maybe in the second bands?
Yeah, so Quan is also another very popular pick or ban at the moment. So I won't be surprised if Flow State will be looking at a Quan ban right here. They may go for the more Argus ban. I just know that professors won't like necessarily ban the Argus every single time. So if the Argus is going to be banned right here, it has to be from Flow State to get this draft started right here. But another interesting thing about like the Quan pick first or ban is the fact that I noticed a lot of these, like some of these recent like drafts where a Quan will go through and they will first pick Quan. However, he has a very bad matchup in the off lane, and that is the Ceres pick. Like Ceres is another very popular like offlaner. You don't necessarily like ban him first. He's like the perfect like pick where you don't ban him, but he's always gonna get picked up one way or another because he is just so dominant offlane, and he has to be super good into the Quan, who's like a higher priority pick or ban. But we see Flow State banning the Kalari, so Flow State showing up, not going for the generic ban. They're gonna be looking to shut off 6 on that Kalari pick because a 6 on Kalari is a huge menace to deal with right there. So we may actually see August get played right here if Professor sticks to the guns and not ban him out right here.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all to see Flow State ban Kalari there, making sure that 6 doesn't get that champion on him, because he is a nasty Kalari player. So I respect that. I wouldn't want to let that through either. So now I would imagine that we're going to see an Argus ban, I would assume. I'm not exactly sure. If they let that go through, though, I just don't think that's a good idea. What do you think, Joey?
Yeah, so I really don't think Professor will ban the Argus. Like, I feel like if anything, Professors may ban the FaZe because, yeah, they really hate FaZe a whole lot because the iconic survival and Crazy Fool duo only works if they don't play against FaZe, because Crazy Fool calls all the shots in lane. He's like, I stun this person dies, survivor, go in. But they can't do that if FaZe always yoinks that ADC to safety. So we see this in the last like tournaments too, where like Professors will always ban the FaZe. It's almost like they are too hinged on the duel, especially Crazy Fool getting the CC support, to the point that if the team gets the FaZe against them, they cannot play to the strategy that well, which is sort of like like it's almost like a handicap in the sense that like they do not know how yet to play around the phase ban, so they might as well just ban it out. But we're getting these more and more heroes added to this game, especially like with the picks like Thrawn and August. So over time, there's only gonna be a bigger and bigger handicap for professors if they keep having to ban the phase because they do not know how to play against them. And we see right here that Flow State is picking up Thrawn first right here. And I did said that I think professors may follow up with a serious pick right here to go against that. What do you think so, Cap?
Yeah, they could. I mean, Flow State picking up Quang first is a good move, I think. I mean, Quang just I don't think you can leave him on the table right now. He's way too tanky. He outputs a ton of damage. He's got quite a lot of maneuverability, quite a lot of CC. I mean, he just brings pretty much everything to the table. So you're gonna have to try to figure out some way of at least evening the field here. You need a lot of CC, a lot of damage to kind of combat this. Whether or not you get that in Argus, or you go for a CC heavy pick in the off lane, either way, I think it's good. But if once again Argus is left up on the table, so I think that they need to grab him. I mean, if they don't grab him right now, I think Flow State will. And there we go. We see Argus Richter pick. Now, I'm curious to see whether or not this is going to be both dual lane picks. I'm curious to see whether or not this is going to be an APC Argus and a Richter support, because that is a nasty combo. So I don't know. It could be very exciting to see. I don't know how often we ever get APC picks in the PCC. I don't think I've ever seen one. So I don't know. Have you ever seen one, Joey?
I have not, but we did have seen professors practice with the duo a couple of times, so that is an option they can totally go for. But we know that Soul Reaper can definitely bring out the August mids. Crazy Voice been practicing a lot on August support as well, and Richter is the king of flex for jungle, offlane, and support. So this is like a very deadly first two picks because the enemy team, they have no idea where these two are going because the flexibility is just off through the roof right there. But we are going to see Flow State going for the Bellica and jungle pick right there. Jungle just a standard great ADC. Survivor loves the jungle, so they sort of kind of took that away from it a little bit right there. And Bellica is actually like a great pick to go against the August mid, if that's the August mid, or it can go into support decently well as right there.
Yeah. Either way, I think Bellica is a good pick in the Argus. Whether or not you take her mid or you take her as a counter support, I think she does really well into Argus. Offers not quite as much CC, but enough to kind of combat that. And Drongo is just going to be a safe ADC into Richter. And if Argus is support, it's going to be relatively safe into Argus as well. You've got the silence grenade, right, which offers a lot. If that Richter gets on top of you, if you're able to throw that grenade right before you get hooked, you're not going to get silenced afterwards. You can kind of get out of there. And once again, Bellica's got such a easy multi-person stun that, you know, it might be able to stay even with them if that is APC dual lane.
Yeah, like I'm really liking how this is going so far for both teams, and Professor's locking in the Series, which I think is a no-brainer because once again, Series is that really great answer to Quan off lane, and so like depending on these last two picks right here, they can easily be like, yeah, that Quan's going off lane. Let's just stick Series onto Nitro that can just pilot this hero super well. So I'm liking the Professor's first half a whole lot, but I think Florida State has like a solid first half as well. It just really is going to come down to these last two picks and bans on how both these team comps are going to round out, because I think Professors, what they sort of need to secure is a little bit more, like they have a lot of CC damage. I think they actually have great all-around damage. I think they need to secure a little bit more sustained damage so that after they use their combos and CCs, they have some sustained damage to follow up with that. But Florida State banning out the Waves, which is a kind of like another survival kind of pick. Also a very iconic Soul Reaper pick in the mid lane in the certain scenarios as well. So it's actually great 2-in-1 kind of ban against the Professors right there.
Yeah, banning out. I think Wraith in mid lane can be very aggravating to deal with, right? Because he can just play safe, farm up, and there's not really much that you can do about it, right? And especially now that he gets refunded full mana on snipe for the minions. He just can continue to farm and farm. I also think that the Xeris pick was pretty interesting pick. I don't know if they were necessarily trying to take that away from Peak, because Peak's been playing a lot of Xeris lately, and also Xeris, according to last PCC, had the second highest win rate of every pick. So, I mean, that's a very, very solid pick coming in from Professors. So far, it's a pretty interesting draft. We see that the Howie has been banned. I don't know. I've never really seen Bri play too much Howie. Maybe they're trying to ban that away from him. I'm not exactly sure. But the Steel looking like a massive kind of wombo combo potential that they have going on now with the Argus, Richter, and Steel. So far, a lot of CC drafted on Professors. I'm kind of curious to see how Flow State's going to answer this.
Yeah, I think the reason for the House of ban is because of the Sarah's like pick that Professors did right there. The biggest counter like Sarah's cage, it's like a howitzer just pressing all, he flies out the cage and do a lot of damage back at them. So Professor is really looking to do like a one more combo lockdown team comp, and so to make sure they can really like get that out consistently, they're gonna try to remove the howitzer, who can like disrupt that flow process where they try to go for the pick on the howitzer, but then howitzer can totally like get outside the cage and ruin the strategy that Professors are trying to do right here. So like, and then we see right here Flow State picking up the gadget and the Rampage. I actually really like the gadget pick a whole lot because they really want to play around the Sarah's cage, especially with the one more combo setup, or the fact that Wits are going for the hook and locking people down. But all it takes is the gadget ultimate to just completely counter that. Now all of a sudden that person that you thought you have locked down by Professor's side is actually getting the tables turned against them. So I really like the gadget just being very disruptive to the game plan of Professors right here.
Yeah, and this is a comfort pick for Bri. Gadget is his most played hero, so I mean he's going to be comfortable on this role for sure. So I think that's a solid pick. And you know, if he's going against an Argus, which at this point I don't think he's going to be, but even if he was, he'd be fairly safe going into Argus, right? You can stay far enough back, you don't have to really worry about that Q. And Rampage being picked up, I'm surprised it took so long, to be honest. Rampage is pretty strong right now. So, and if you're in the EU, everybody hates playing against Rampage. So I think it's a solid pick for them. And we see TB getting picked up. Go ahead,
yeah,
Joey.
the Twin Blast, the last pick, means that we won't see the August ADC, and that is going to be a August mid on Soul Reaper with Survivor picking up the Twin Blast right there. So it's almost looking like a super spicy like AP carry August, but last minute Professors are looking at this and like, maybe we should actually pick up this Twin Blast because I think it's a smaller move considering the fact that although they have a lot of the CC lockdown with the Steel, Ceres, and Richter, what they really lack right now is that high sustained damage. August can provide that, but they need that second pick so the damage is more spread out and they have more priority targets to protect right here. So Professors kind of really run out the team comp right here very solidly.
And there's the draft, everybody. Joey, you were talking about Kwang versus Zaris in the off lane, potentially, but what does that matchup look like in the early game?
Yeah, so the early game for like a Quan and Ceres matchup, essentially Ceres is gonna keep like W-king the Quan and poking him down. The biggest reason why the Quan struggle a lot against the Ceres is because Quan wants to go for the knock-up combo ability. However, that's very telegraphed, that's very easy to react to. So even if Ceres gets tethered by the Quan sword, all Ceres needs to do is press Q and then face the Quan, mitigate all that damage with the shield, stun him back, and then his sustained high damage can actually keep chasing them right afterwards. Maybe in the mid to late game where Quan's bringing a lot of armored, I think that matchup doesn't become nearly as bad, but that early game, offlane is going to be very dominant side by Nitro on Ceres.
And lastly, Sawcap, before we hand it over to our casters, you were talking a little bit about Gadget and versus Argus. What does that look like?
I think that it's in my opinion, I think it's a skill matchup, right? Because you've got a Gadget, she can sit back, she can kind of stay out of that range of that Argus Q, and you know, the further back you are, the easier it is to react to that ability. And she doesn't have to let him get on top of her, right? So really just kind of farming up, playing safe, not trying to get close to him because he is kind of a problem when he gets too close to Gadget. But I think, like I said, Bri is a very, very good Gadget, so I'm interested to see how this mid lane goes. I think it should be pretty enjoyable to watch.
All right, game number 4. Ladies and gentlemen, Flow State versus the Professors. Get your predictions in. Take it away, Man of Class and TJ DJ.
Thank you so much, R-Dog. Welcome everyone to the casting desk. Only 3 teams in the Swiss tournament so far are undefeated. 2 of them, of course, Flow State versus Professors. That will change at the end of this one. One of these teams will be dropping that 1 loss. And honestly, we've had so many banger games already today. This one should not disappoint as well. How you doing, Mano?
I'm doing pretty good. I mean, we finally got an Argus through the draft, didn't we? It finally happened. We finally got our green man, green machine, the mean green machine in the game. And with a game like this, when you think, oh, Professors are not going to ban it, so that maybe Flow State picks it up, but they also own the Kwang, like that draft going back and forth in that way was very fascinating to watch. But I am still scared for Flow State because I don't think I have seen a game where the team with Argus lost. I don't think I've seen it yet. So this might be the first one. I'd be very excited to see it. And there are tools to deal with it for Flow State, but it's still a crazy risk to take for both teams, honestly, to let it through for a couple times.
Absolutely, that's that Argus being let through the draft, and as I said, like the Kwang coming out as the first pick was definitely a bit of an eyebrow raiser for me as well. Leaving that Argus available, I'm thinking that Flow State have been maybe having a plan for this one as well to deal with it and allowing that Argus to go through. As you say, they have got some tools available for them to shut down this Argus, and definitely going to be interested to see how it has transpired. I mean, while we've been doing a little bit of preamble, Professors grouping up, moving through the mid side, red jungle in towards the mid lane as well, still trying to catch someone out. Got a pretty nasty level 1, particularly with Soul Reaper leveling up that Dread Nova as well. Not going to catch anyone out as the minions start to crash.
I really like the choice of putting Snoop on the steal instead of getting the Zaras in the off lane. Des was talking about it already, right? Like when you have the Zaras versus the Kwang, the Zaras is a pretty good early game, and it's all pretty fun and all that stuff. But if you really want to have a Zaras scale like the way they can do now, you just put them in the jungle. It's some might consider it a risk, or might consider, well, the steal is going to have some trouble in that off lane as well. But honestly, steal versus Kwang, it's one of those classic tanks in the off lane that just says, yeah, I'm going to have to play a little bit safer, but it's going to be really hard for you to actually eliminate me without any help. So
I definitely do like that. Yeah, I do like that about, I agree with you there with the Zaras being taken into the jungle. It's almost like, with the steel jungle, you kind of have to wait a little bit longer for them to really start impacting these lanes, to want to farm, want to get some levels. This Zaras can start being a heavy hitter very early on as well. And I'm wondering if maybe that's going to be a way of trying to deal with Flow State as well, and maybe trying to get Soul Reaper ahead on this Argus pick. I mean, we probably all felt what could happen when an Argus gets ahead, because Argus just kind of exists, and when he's able to take away games. So I want to see how Professor's game plan is going to develop.
It's going to be of course, a lot of the time when we talk about these two teams playing against each other, and just the players on these teams, we look at the dual lane a lot, but we can look at the off lane now.
Ooh, Six already there, using that evade and Peak feeling the pressure, having to burn that blink already. That's a pre-3-minute blink over on that right-hand side. Simba going to use this to at least go in towards the mid lane, help secure that river buff on the left-hand side. Get a little bit of vision down. Only the 1 blink so far in the right-hand side.
Yeah, this is going to be time for Simba to start looking at potentially interfering into a lane. Six is saying, you know what, you're in my jungle. I don't want you here. Let me try and evict you. But not going to actually engage, just be a little bit threatening. Soul Reaper looking as well, maybe rotating over. It's that's going to be the mind games between these teams, right? Like they're both good enough to understand potential when they can go into each other's jungles, when they can start something. Because of course, if Six is on the off lane trying to mess with that Kwang, he's not going to be in his left jungle. His blue jungle is going to be free, so why not take that farm, right? It's a great moment.
So yeah, I do like that point that you make about both these teams as well, kind of sizing each other up. Neither team really wanting to kind of overcommit in the early stages of this game. It feels like with both of these compositions, like if as soon as one team is able to get ahead, that is a snowball that might just be unstoppable once it gets online.
Soul Reaper and Bry. Of course, not going to expect that much of a matchup, like in terms of actually fighting in the early game, because they both got so much range that they don't need to be close to each other. So that's always a fun one when you see those two go against each other, which is, again, a nice pick. Again, I said it before, Flow State has a pretty good composition to deal with an Argus on like a micro or macro level even. But it's still going to come to fruition. Good rock with the stun, but the hook is there.
Hit that. Ooh, and a blink coming out from Gwissy to get away. Survivor goes aggressive with the rocket dash, but cannot confirm the killing blow. And those void grenades not going to find the mark either. So close, playing with fire, but still, incredibly, no one drops in the duo lane.
Snoop still trying to size up against Peak. Is at least ahead in XP, so probably also a little bit in CS, but that means that Peak is going to be, let's say, in trouble. Peak definitely looking for a potential engage, but Six is here as well.
Six gonna burn the blink, looking for Peak, who already burnt it 2 minutes ago, so still on cooldown. A bull rush comes in, and Peak doesn't have any mana. The shield from the lights of the heavens won't be enough to save him. Divine intervention, not enough. Six gonna pick up a first blood in the right-hand side.
And again, we see a team prioritizing keeping the Kwang down. We saw it in the last series as well, where there was almost an overcommitment on trying to get the Kwang at some point. But it was happening here as well. Now, Soul Reaper's on the dual lane, and this might be an engage. They don't get the hook, though. Slight mistiming. It can be a really good combo, though. And honestly, it's a good thing that Professor's got the Richter, because otherwise they might have to be playing against a Richter. And as an Argus, that's a little bit less fun.
Yeah, just looking for that setup as well, as Simba's going to hit a boulder toss, a blink away, but a blink follow up, just like that. Blink and you will miss it. More actually in the right-hand side. Simba avenges the kill on towards the Snoop. Going to even out things in the kill state as well.
Soul Reaper and Bry a little ahead of Soul Reaper there because of the rotation coming out. A little XP soaked up, but Survivor goes down with the duo, and Crazy Fool, oh, that has used the blink. Yeah, without that blink, they don't get out alive, so good thing for them. But that's honestly, the dual lane, again, also going pretty well. And we were talking a little bit when the draft was going on, right? And I think I said something about, like, yeah, Flow State has a decent shot at winning this, but at about 15 minutes, they need to be ahead. If they're not ahead at 15 minutes, it's going to be a very tough one for them to win, because that's usually when Professors really start going for it. In the early game, we see a lot of Professors going a little slower, you know, farming, duking it out, and then that 15-minute, like second mini prime, second Fangtooth, like those timings is really when they start properly going for it, and all of a sudden they group up and they roll over everything. So that's really when you want to have a lead if you are Flow State.
Oh, absolutely. The Professors have definitely made a name for themselves as a team. They're team fighting in and around those objectives. That mid-game control that the Professors like to dominate as well definitely has become their trademark. So I think we will be watching with bated breath around, as you say, those second Fangtooths, maybe the second mini prime as well. 7.5 minutes. It's only the kills in the 2 kills on the right-hand side, and also the pick over on this left here. So it's a 2-for-1 so far. Still in Flow State's position. Very much still in equilibrium at the moment. Neither team getting much of an advantage to move towards these neutral objectives. Tower's only taking a little bit of chip damage, but maybe the solo side is going to be the key to unlocking it here. The Snoop really feeling the pressure here and forced out from this Quang. Soul Reaper thought about the rotation, move through the river, but Pika is probably going to get the call from his mid laner to know that Soul Reaper's on the road once again, and that's going to fall apart.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, it's also a matter of how much mana does Kwang have. Can Steel help you out with a CC? You know, what's the HP looking like?
Whoa,
good hooks again, but not enough.
And Survivor just takes the boulder toss, and just a beautiful combination coming out from Jay and Gwissy. And this is Flow State getting a really solid start. And just as I said, hey, maybe neither of these teams really having that opportunity to start a neutral off that one pick alone. Simba's here, 4 members turning onto that Fangtooth. Professors could still look to contest, but it looks like the call is to concede it away, and Flow State get the kill lead and also pull ahead on the neutrals.
Yeah, as soon as you see Six not committing to traveling over to the Fangtooth pit, you know they're going to probably give it up, because without that hunt in the early game, it's going to be such a hard one to actually contest. And of course, if you don't have a full 5-man, that makes it even harder. Crazy Fool and Survivor will have to stick under the tower for a little bit. They have taken a couple of hits, and now especially the ADC of the Drongo being alive and ahead as well is going to be a tough one to deal with. But Peak, Six, Snoop... There's so much going on here on this off lane. Simba's also getting into the mix. Will there be a kill coming in through here? Not with the boulder toss going into a wall.
No, but that means it might be a re-engage here. Peak's got to be careful. Already did take the bull rush. Simba coming down. The Colosseum will be thrown as well. The go button has been pushed, and Simba goes Big Bird as well, returning so much damage. The focus fire on towards Six. Snoop hits 2 with the up-down shield slammer. Bry is here from the mid lane. Rotation is now 3 for 2. Six gets back to his tower. Now it's the Snoop. Has got to be careful. Use the evade. Gets away with his life. Flow State nearly finding the pick, but it's just going to be a rotation.
It's those micro plays that you see happen as well. Bry comes in, throws down the speed gate, and instantly the Snoop is like, I'm not going to go there because then I'm going to get stunned. I have to go through the jungle and use my movement there. It's small things, right? Like, of course, when you watch it, it's like, oh yeah, it's so easy. You see the speed gate, you go the other way. But in the moment, that can be a very tricky call to make. So it's always good to see players still make the right call. And in this match, we expect them to do it, but expectations could sometimes not be met. So it's nice when they are.
Yeah, the professors really do have to be careful. I mean, with the flow state composition, it feels like as soon as one of those important pieces of CC lands, the tether, the boulder toss, or even a good seismic assault coming out from Gussie on that Bellica as well, it could be death. I mean, that's what happened to Survivor just moments ago, and that started kind of that ball rolling for the move in towards that Fangtooth. But since then, both teams taking the reset, going back towards this equal state. But once again, I mean, Mano, you mentioned that flow state really needed to be ahead by the 15-minute mark, and it's a pretty good, honestly, a very good start for them.
Yeah, no, it's they are executing the plan. You can always ask, could they maybe have done more, like an extra couple of eliminations that came through. They got the first Fangtooth. Mini Prime is still up for grabs. I don't think anyone grabbed the first one. Did we miss that? Maybe they did. But either way, it's a good moment and a good timing so far from Flow State. But this is not necessarily a lead that I would call decisive enough to really feel safe. So they're probably going to be looking for a little bit more in the coming minutes. Snoop just messing with Peak once more. But yeah, I mean, the CC stuff is definitely something that we're going to come back into. Currently, of course, first items aren't really looking towards that, but some Unbroken Wills are undoubtedly going to come through.
So that's a blink away from Peak as rotation comes through. Six goes to the Blink Coliseum down and want to get this pick onto the Kwang. And Six is going to be on hand. Gets a stack in his Coliseum in prime position to start up the mini prime. But Simba and Bry made the movement over to his right-hand side. Makes professors think twice about making the move towards the neutral objective. It's just the one kill, but Crazyful hits the Riplash into the skewer. But a good seismic assault interrupts the CC. And Jay's able to get away with a good shrapnel cannon. Again, so close to death. But it's only going to be the one pick on the right-hand side.
It is definitely a tightrope to walk for both, honestly, for both the dual lane duos. Rye's not going to come over, though. They are close to their tower, so it needs to be a quick blow-up. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to get eliminations here.
Might be enough just to try and get them to maybe move out from the safety, but little do they know, of course, the Six is in that blue side jungle as well. Sorry, put in the left-hand half of the map as well, matching on surprise movements towards that left-hand side. Flow State looking to maybe unlock the dual lane a little bit more, try and counterbalance the pressure that the professors have been putting on towards the solo side for Flow State.
Yeah, of course we're kind of waiting for the objective timer. We saw the move towards the mini prime a little bit earlier on, but now there looks to be a more en masse movement from Flow State to want to go for that mini prime, and they're probably going to start it pretty soon. And there's no one around. I don't think they even have vision on the side of professors to know that they're doing this. All they know is they're not in their lanes. And the dual lane won't even see that because they're not there.
It's a very big rotation here, and you can see, Flow State making the call to actually bring over that dual lane all the way to the mini prime, securing it, going on towards the rampage as well. And now with this grouping, I wonder if they're going to try and unlock a lane, maybe look towards the mid lane, maybe go towards solo side. Mid lane might be the more likely. You've got the grouping up. 4 members. It seems that Jay did take the reset, so Gussie's still sticking around. Professor's definitely aware to the situation. Just going to group up, just going to turtle, move towards the left-hand side, because second Fangtooth is about to spawn in moments away, and that mini prime before this objective fight might come in clutch.
I do also like that they went for that mini prime in that timing, knowing that they couldn't trade the Fangtooth yet. The hook is there, they'll Riplash on Simba.
Yeah, he's just going to drop down Simba now. Losing jungle before a neutral fight might be devastating, and now the professors want more. He's traded out for Crazyful, but the Coliseum locks Peak inside of this river. He's trying to do what he can with the surge, with the knockups, with the shield, but it's just not going to be enough, and that's going to be the Snoop taking down Peak. Flow State tried to make the play work, but they're going to lose 2 for it, and with Jungler down, this opens the door for the professors to start up their first Fangtooth.
Yeah, there is some damage left. Of course, you got your mid laner, like that Gadget can throw down a Tesla Dome in the middle of that pit, and there's a couple of low health players on the side of professors. This could be a fight, and I think they're going to go for one.
Crystal comes down, able to split the fight. Stu goes in with the up down, but Gussy's there. Double sides because Salt and Jay just able to hit the damage. Bry confirms the kill on towards the Stoop. The Fangtooth has to be called away. Crazy Fool with the blink on towards Jay, trying to at least return. But speaking of return, Simba is here and the Rampage is going to strike back. Jay still drops to the Obliterate from Soul Reaper, but with the Jungler back, a huge swing outside the Fangtooth. Professor started it, but Flow State looked to end this and take the Fangtooth for themselves.
Yeah, unfortunately that Jay went down. They got a little split in the target focus. Very big draw of attention, honestly, from the Richter coming through. Really nicely done. And then Jay just had the tunnel vision. They wanted to go for that Twin Blast. They couldn't quite find it. But looks like indeed the Fangtooth pick, even the second one, will also go to Flow State, which is extra stat boost as well. Soul Reaper tried. Didn't quite get it. But it was close. It was close.
Yeah, thankfully,
if you got the opportunity, you try it, right?
Oh, 100%. You miss every shot that you don't take. And, could have had the potential. A Dread Nova stun on towards the jungler. The damage from Ether Crystal, take it down low. I mean, Simba can still miss that hunt. Even if it is 502 damage, you have to be so precise. And we mentioned before, Mano, about how precise you have to be. And, in kind of these high-pressure scenarios as well. Like, one mistake, one misstep can cost you a lot of momentum in the long run. As it looks like we're going to get our first freeze frame of the day. Of course, it happens when TJ casts his game, but that's just sort of a replay bug vibe that I kind of bring to the casting team, at least. But hey, we get to catch our breath a little bit.
Yeah, we do. And I mean, but there's no neutral objectives on. That's usually when, I would say nothing happens, but when teams sort of calm down again until you get these decisive movements because waves crash in a certain way, right? Like you need that space behind an enemy hero or the right rotation or to actually stun them up and blow them up, because if they can run away, they will usually run away. In this situation, though, red buffs are, going to be taken. Then they're going to rotate over to their blue buffs, at least for the junglers. And the mid laners are just going to have some fun. But it's going to be a fun situation. We're going to just reload the game real quick while that happens. But I mean, so far, Flow State is doing everything right. I don't think they really have made a colossal mistake just yet. I think the biggest one we saw was Jay getting split from the rest of their team in that Fangtooth fight. But everything else has kind of gone... If something went wrong, it was more because professors did a good play than because they made a real mistake.
Yeah, the professors in a lot of these moments as well, kind of their willingness to concede objectives as well. I know there's an argument that could be made about going for these plays and thinking like, it's kind of a 50-50 at the moment. Rather than going for the 50-50, trying to maybe make the odds more in your favor, look towards a pick on that one side. I think, the mini prime call springs to mind there. They commit towards the right-hand side, trying to get a pick on towards peak, and then they do that and immediately move towards the mini prime. But hey, Brian Simba just right place, right time, completely shutting that down. Professor's playing very safe, but kind of in this scenario, Flow State have actually been able to utilize that as well. Kind of more willing to take the coin flippy fights. And hey, sometimes you have to call those coin tosses. Sometimes you call heads and you get heads.
Yeah, and I do think that mini prime call is like really what it comes down to in terms of how Flow State is approaching this game, because they timed it really well. They saw the dual lane has just backed. The mid lane wasn't there. Like there was no vision on them, unless there would have been a ward. There was no vision on them going to that mini prime pit as a team. So even if they would have figured it out, outside of professors, they would have been too late to react in any situation. And if Flow State was indeed aware of that fact, then that was just a really smart move to steal away an objective. And of course, the timing of Fangtooth not being up yet, so it couldn't be traded. The combination was just perfect, and they really capitalized on it quite well. But Flow State now, again, they're still in the lead. They got all the objectives so far. There will be one more mini prime before we get into big prime territory. But this is the 15-16 minute mark that we were talking about, right? And they are ahead.
But what more can they do as well? Crazy Fool has something to say about that. Jay able to get away with good reclamation, but Crazy Fool hits the Riplash on towards Jay and forces the blink, but Six is here with the Colosseum, and now that's going to be no way out for Gussy. Survivor getting a kill from the Colosseum, and just like that, Professors, ever much in a kill deficit, finally pull ahead with a kill onto their dual lane.
4 team members committing to get that double kill on dual lane to take that tier 1 tower down. They can't capitalize on any other objectives, unfortunately, but at least that's a really good and strong move that they made. As we get the red jungle invade straight away coming through from Bry. And I mean, that's just exactly what you want to do from Simba as well. Let's check if there's any minions alive, because 6 wasn't there anyways.
It's just really a good heads-up play as well. Kind of the idea that if you make a move on the left-hand side, I'm going to make a move on the right, or at least try and match it. With the grouping up there from the Professors, taking down the dual lane tier 1 tower. And this is kind of that point in the game where we were saying that the Professors definitely find their stride here. I mean, with Flow State, of course, being ahead before this point, and now the Professors might be able to pull this one a bit more even, but the neutral objectives still remain where the difference is. What are the Professors going to do to really start to pull ahead? We've not had that big team fight win. We've not had that big collapse just yet. Snoop is going to sidestep the boulder toss and also avoid the judgment from the heavens to survive a little bit longer. But this is what I mean with the Professors. Dual lane unlocked, moved into mid lane, and Gussy can only watch their tower start to fall. Professors now have got their foot to the pedal, have a bit of momentum.
Yeah, they're going to move from tower to tower, just take down all the tier 1s and open up the map for themselves. And they're doing it in a really nice way. And this is just going to continue like this. Oh, Simba just going to get caught out there. The combination coming out. It's taken nearly 18 minutes to see the Richter and the Argus start to pay their dividends, but now Professors want more of a fight because Flow State thought that they could check their own blue side jungle, but man, oh man, the audacity of you to even think that's yours. Professors finding 2 more kills, Flow State giving them over as well, and Professors once again taking these towers. That really felt like a gift-wrapped elimination right there. You just see Simba go down over there. Like 3 of their heroes. Then you walk in there as Guasi, as the Bellica. You think that's going to go well? Probably not. And the answer is indeed no. But yeah, this kind of all snowballs. And because I was saying before, right, like they haven't really made a mistake, Flow State, unless that like really sort of, split in communication at the Fangtooth Pit before. But that's where they made mistakes. They didn't hit the boulder toss, and they didn't hit the stun, the Kwang root onto Snoop. If they get that, and they get that tier 1 tower, then it's a very different situation that follows. But because they committed 3 heroes to try and get that elimination on the solo lane, and they didn't get it, all of the sudden, those moves to mid lane and to the solo lane afterwards pay off for Professors, because it could have been stopped or at least equalized after that dual lane elimination came through, a double kill from Professors. Now they're going into the Prime Pit. They've come back from a little bit of a deficit, and now they're ahead in Professors. Going to take the midi Prime, and it's got to start snowballing. We need to not see those mistakes from Flow State.
And it's as you say as well, like we mentioned on the cast before about what the Flow State composition, the tools that they have available, how the positioning for the Professors has to be so perfect. But there's also on the side of the Professors as well, Colosseum, Riplashes, Dreadnovas as well. I mean, the Snoop getting into these fights with the Shield Slam, having that impact that we have been trying to see from the Steel Picks this entire tournament as well. Grouping up from the Professors, looking towards this Fangtooth, trying to at least take one away and deny the Fangtooth free card Monty for Flow States, deny that stacking objective. But all members starting to converge here. We're going to potentially see our first big 5v5 fight here. The grouping up from the Flow State, moving in towards the pit as well. So I'm going to be leading the charge. That's going to be the Riplash on towards Sim. They're going to try and burn through the jungle, but the Behemoth comes out, and there's going to be so much health regen, and Crazy falls down, and all of a sudden Flow State made able to turn this around as Simba still keeps himself alive. Professors look to disengage, but they've already lost 1 member. They're still keeping up the pressure. Peak doing what they can, but Peak's still stuck between all 4 members of the surviving Professors, and they look to re-engage. 6 goes for the engage with the Shield Slam on the top, and Flow States are completely blown away by the ultimate combination. They flee back towards their jungle, and just like that, Professors turn the fight on their head and go 2 for 1.
And so many things went wrong and right for both teams there. It was kind of crazy to watch, right? Like, Survivor was not with the team. They were still just sitting on on the dual lane. So that was a clear violation of we group up together as Professors. So Flow State thought, okay, so we can go in because we have the ADC advantage. Simba took a lot of damage. They do find it the first elimination. But after that, they don't keep going. They just back off again because Survivor just taps in a little bit on the side, and they don't go for the ADC first. They don't. It almost felt like they have a little bit of an indecision, because then Peaks goes in almost on their own to the rest of Professors when the rest of Flow State wasn't really engaging. I don't know if that was a communication error or exactly what happened there, because of course we're not on their comms, but that felt like they thought they could capitalize on something, but they were disagreeing on what they were going to capitalize on. Was it Survivor that was in the dual lane alone, or was it going in on the rest of the team 5v3? Because that was obviously a decision that needs to be made, and it didn't seem like it was actually made.
Absolutely. I am just wondering if it is that little disconnect in the comms, as you say, but the professors, there's a reason that these guys, they've been around the block. You can definitely say that. PCC
sure.
champion of PCC 5, been to the grand finals as well on several occasions. Definitely veterans of the scene as well. They saw that opportunity, and I love the play, immediate, like we have an opportunity, peak is down, Colosseum shield slam on towards those very immobile members of Flow State. And they say they had to burn the blinks to get away. But it's those sort of edges that the professors like to find. The group up here on the right-hand side, or Prime, did spawn as well. So this might be where the next fighter wants to break. But once again, professors looking for a pick, and peak might be the unfortunate target. Once again, Colosseum locks him down. He's going to try and delay as much as he can. Simba throws the boulder toss, but it's more for penny for your thoughts, really. And that's dropping already. Right, looking for a pincer. Gussie here as well. There's still going to be a 3 versus 3 underneath the tier 1 tower. Simba jumping back once again. This tower drops. Simba's still thinking about this re-engage. He's already gone big mode. The boulder toss on towards the stoop, trying to burn him down with the Seeking Destroy over the top, but 6 is still zoning away the backline. Simba goes in with the Razorback, but the professors just aren't taking the bait. They aren't over-committing to this play, and they've got reinforcements on the way.
6 low on mana and below half health, but can Simba, Gwassi, and Bry finish that with Crazy Fool also being there and the Snoop still lurking? There's reinforcements from both teams. They do find Crazy Fool.
Yeah, with this group up on that right-hand side, it's just going to be the 1-for-1 overall, as we had that very unfortunate blip with the replay. But it seems we've gone back to at least a stable frames per second here, and not PowerPoint presentation levels. But hey, just how it goes sometimes with the state of this match here. Professors 12 kills to 8 here, approaching that 24-minute mark, and we've seen them taking down these towers. Very interesting what happened there in the solo side. It seems that neither team really wanted to commit overall to trying to cleanly engage that fight.
No, so far Professor's just playing it by the book. This is kind of what they always do, right? Mid-game starts, they take a couple of towers, take a couple of objectives, and all of a sudden it looks like they've never been behind, ever. Though no matter how far behind they were, they're not anymore now. I mean, they weren't that far behind in the first place. They were just 2 Fang2s and a kill behind and 1 or mini prime, so it was okay. But now all of a sudden, they are just looking very hard to beat. Flow State is doing a good job of not leading, just feeding into it more. They have also taken all the tier 1. I think the mid-tier tower has 1 sliver of health left, but they tried. And this is a start of the prime here for 4 professors. I think Flow State knows, though. They are making their way over. And it's Snoop still missing as well.
Yeah, Snoop is actually going to be spotted out on that left-hand side. Currently having the age-old fights in the solo lane, extending it to the other side of the map here, meeting him with... the Snoop versus Peak as well on that left-hand side. But so you see the professors trying to maybe sneak that objective, but Flow State seem to just be in that kind of that different state of mind, really, to kind of call a lot of what the professors have been trying to do, plays that would have worked against other teams. Flow State have just had an answer to, and this game still remains competitive, even 25 minutes in.
12 and 8 for professors, 1 Fangtooth behind. Or Prime was not the move just yet, but both teams are definitely thinking about it and looking for it. But we're gonna see these grouping up motions happening a little bit more. We do have a Drongo just farming away in that solo lane, which is very nice to see. It means that Jake can get some extra farming going, which is always good if you're playing against Survivor. Get some extra items potentially going. And speaking of items, nothing. I haven't seen anything strange in anybody. Thinking oh, this is something they have deviated from the norm in any way, shape, or form. I was expecting to see maybe a little bit more items that were dealing with CC, but on the other hand, if you think about it, right, when you think about maybe build an anti-CC item on a mid laner or something like that, a lot of the time that is only a really, 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 really small bandage when you have a gaping wound of CC coming at you, because 5 CC abilities on the other team, you can stop one, but you can't stop them all. That's always the tricky part. But at least Simba has a lot of HP to just soak it up.
Yeah, and we definitely saw that as well. I mean, just thinking back to that crazy full hook on towards Simba and trying to burn through this rampage didn't go down. And I think that's why I do like the anti-heal starting to come out here from the side of the Professors, seeing that Tainted Guard being picked up by Crazy Fool, Tainted Scepter on Soul Reaper as well, just to try and work through some of that health regen as well and try and make that Behemoth not as powerful as it perhaps could be. Now, both neutral objectives going to be on the board here. Primal Fangtooth has spawned. Simba also just got to try and get a ward down, maybe get some vision, but instant Ether Crystal away. It definitely dissuades the Rampage from moving any further in towards that one. Both teams kind of meeting a bit of a dance around this objective. Again, there's lanes that need to be dealt with. There's mini waves that need to be pushed, and maybe finding an opportunity here because in this 5v5 fight, maybe it's a little bit too close to call, and I don't think either team wants to coin flip for that one.
No, I mean, I wouldn't, personally. I would not want to take that risk. But there is again, Professors grouping her up around that Fangtooth pit, and Flow State are going to have to re-engage on that or engage on that in some way, shape, or form. And it's kind of the tricky part because both teams are okay with the other team walking into the ambush, into the trap. We're talking about things like Colosseum, but we're also talking about the Tesla Dome. We're talking about just general Bellica utility. Also Kwong, and now you get pulled into the enemy jungle in Simba. It's not where you want to be.
No, it's definitely, he didn't really have a choice as Crazy Fool hit that Riplash as the Trap Cannon from Jay gets him away, but he has to run to the hills to get away. Flow State are split, and their health is way too low to re-engage this fight, and the 6 goes for the Colosseum peak, having to blink away, but the Professor's definitely the more healthy, and with no jungle on the side of Flow State, the more likely to start up the Primal Fangtooth. That is going to be the call, and unfortunately for Flow State, they just can't walk up to this pit, and they might just have to concede it.
Especially when Jay was also that low. Like, so much damage would have been missing because Jay would just instantly be blown up. Peak is going to try and peek in, but won't get an elimination. We'll just get some damage down. There might be some follow-up they could do, but they need some damage there. Jay is on his way. Gwassi with the good stun up, and then find Crazy Fool. This might be a continuation engage if they want it.
I mean, Professors having to burn. I think there were 2 or 3 blinks having to be burned by the Professors to get away cleanly. I didn't think they go for the contest, but the health bars definitely didn't look very healthy on the side of Professors, and Flow State looking for the exit frags. Unfortunately, just gonna have to deal with a pick on towards Survivor, as well as it looks like they're going to go for the player. This will be the trade of the neutral objectives or prime started up by Flow State as well. Professors aren't going to be anywhere near here. I mean, 6 on the rotation goal, could potentially look to try and stop this or prime pit. It's going to try and burn it down as much as they can. Simba still has the hunt available, but 6 is here. This would be a 50-50 if he gets into a favorite. Flow State going to secure the old prime, and now 6 is in so much danger as he gets hit by the boulder toss. They're going to collapse, and that's going to be the Zaris down. Snoop looks for the re-engage, a shield slam onto the back line, going to take down Gwassi and will find the mark, and also going to take down Peak, but it will be at the cost of his own life. That's 2 for 2, but the Professors are here, and they're much more healthy. Simba having to blink away. Flow State trying to keep your prime on as many members as possible, but it's only going to be on 2.
They do get out with 2, which is still a good deal, because that still means you can at least have 1, probably even 2 waves push more aggressively with the minion buff as well. It opens up the map a little bit more in that situation. It's unfortunate that they do lose a couple, and this is where the Argus really came in. Like, Soul Reaper just dunking orbs left, right, and center. Like, so much extra damage came through just because Soul Reaper exists. That's really the danger of Argus, especially later in the game when those burst so hard.
We've seen that long range potential as well with the Obliterator, now giving Soul Reaper the Primal Fangtooth as well, working towards that Oblivion Crown as well with the double potent staff build, just to make Soul Reaper a little bit more potent in these fights. I mean, hey, not just because he's playing Argus as well, but Professors doing what they do best, grouping up, taking down these towers with that Primal Fangtooth buff as well. The Primordial Blaze in their hearts, going that damage over time on these fights. Flow State want absolutely nothing to do with this Professor's composition, keep them at arm's length, and Professors more than happy to just walk around, group up, and take down some neutrals.
I really need to see Jay do some damage, because when Jay finally gets to do damage, it is very valuable. But it's not happening as much as it should, and they're also still, again, they're 2 levels behind of Survivor as an ADC. Now it's 1, but like they are behind in that sense. So the dual lane not working out as strongly as Flow State could have been able to, and a lot of it has to do with the way that Professors plays. Right, they just take their solo laner, take their ADC all the way around the map to soak up all the tower XP. Survivor does get away with this time, but I gotta need to eliminate a couple of minions to get that tier 2. Now they're pushing forward.
And Survivor actually having to burn the Blink and his the Liberator as well cleanse, just to give him that distance to keep himself alive. But that means Survivor can't afford to be caught out once again. This opens the door for Flow State to turn up the pressure, because they have, with the All Prime buff, the buff on towards the minions, mean that they do have a pretty nasty siege as well while they utilize the rest of this buff, and also that out of combat regeneration. But Crazeful hits another Whiplash. Simmer looking to be burned once again, but once more this Richter hits the chain, and that's just going to be the Richter dropping. Did force out the ult from Simba, though, who is very low, and Sorby hits the Dreadnought. Simba looking to jump away. Obliterator not going to find the kill on towards Simba, but now 6 has fallen. Jay finds the damage, and the Professor's starting to feel the pressure. Peak moves towards that solo side to keep the siege up, and the flow State all of a sudden turn this game back into their hands.
This is a good place to be for Flow State. Also a good place to be for Soul Reaper, honestly, because they've just been absolutely bombing the other side with their Obliterators and all the other Argus shenanigans. But, Or Prime is about to run out. Now we're going to look towards the next objective. Fangtooth is not quite up just yet. But just farm up the map a little bit. Make sure you get some space to work with. And Flow State, again, they're not down and out at all. They're looking pretty good still. And when you get to blow up characters, any player really on the other side early before a fight even starts, that's when it really happens. We've seen fights go pretty bad when Simba just gets caught out and blown up, or at least takes too much damage before anything else can happen. But every time that doesn't happen, every time Simba gets to live or at least exist on a reasonable health pool, after or during an engagement, that's when Flow State can really push forward, because they have that tank to work with, and Jay gets more freedom.
And as you said as well, like when Jay's in these fights, when Jay's able to pump out the damage, we are 33.5 minutes in. There's Drongo, 4 items complete at this point as well, are going to be hitting like the proverbial freight train as the Primal Fangtooth is going to spawn. And once again, we go back to this little dance around the neutral objectives, another grouping up, another 5v5 looming. Crazeful needs to hit a Riplash, not on towards Simba. That has been his last 2 deaths as well. Starting his fight has not been in these objective fights for the Professors. Granted, the Professors in a 4v5 situation still able to turn the fights in their favor as well, but not something that Crazeful can keep on doing. Still looking for a hook on towards Jay, on towards even Gussie on this Bellica or this Gadget. Still a lot of grouping, a lot of dancing around.
It's the age-old game between these teams, but at least this time Flow State is there before the Professors can set up their defense line. So there's a little bit more they can do within that sense. They do back off a little bit, but they are in a better spot than they have been in previous fights with this Fangtooth bit. So this could be promising for them, as Professors is looking for the angle as to where to enter.
I mean, I have to be careful. Flow States have to be careful here with the minion waves. Just looking towards the inhibitors, that mid lane and right hand side, pushing against them as well. So if Professors win a team fight here, they have a very easy avenue to just simply push down the mid or the right hand side inhibitors. Also seeing that Survivor living up to his name as well, even picking up a Mesmer just to give him an extra spell shield to deal with the pressure. Crazeful does hit a Riplash, but onto Peak though, going to try and burn him down, but Simba goes in with the big mo, looking to try and cause some disruption, cause some damage. Crazeful going low, and Jay's going to take him down with the wasteland, the passive, but it's going to be traded out. Survivor able to answer back, another boulder toss comes through, but can't confirm the pick. But the Professors have got the mark. They've got the kill on towards Jay, and now sorry, but with full HP, the Dreadnought over onto 2. Good size assault comes out to try and delay it, but Simba has to flee from Soul Reaper. Another Dreadnought, and that's going to be his death, as he's going to lose and die in towards that mid lane. Still a very split fight. Flow State looking for more. Professors not very healthy at this point. They're going to keep up this pressure, and Flow State have to relent. Snoop looking to try and re-engage, but a good tether comes out and it gets Flow State away, but the Professors, so they're going to have to reset. We're going to go back to square one.
Yeah, they have the quicker respawns with 4 members, including their ADC, so they will be able to just walk back into that Fangtooth pit and be a little bit more comfortable, especially when that jungler is missing. So they should be just walking into this pit, if I'm honest. I think that's exactly what they're going to do, because what's Flow State going to do, realistically? They have 10 seconds before their ADC is back, and 25 before Simba's back.
And even Pika going for the reset as well, giving himself the full HP and the mana. But that just completely opens the door for the Professors to take Primal Fangtooth. And this looks like it's going to be a trade once again. With Professors taking Primal Fangtooth, Flow State moving towards the right-hand side. But they still don't have Simba for another 7 seconds. It's going to take him even longer to get back towards this pit as well. Crazy Fool was here, and Flow State are aware of the situation. They're going to start to back away, but this opens the door for the Professors now to take up a spot on this right-hand side and start the objective themselves, perhaps.
Yeah, they were trying to get some vision going as well, but like they knew that they couldn't really engage without Jay or Simba there. Now they do know that it's going to be the objective that everyone's going to fight over, because that double buff will definitely put Professors in a point to start pushing inhibitors, maybe even the core, depending on how good the fight goes. Yeah, both teams are very aware of the situation here, and this could be the moment where this game gets decided.
37 minutes in as well, especially with the way the death timers are even longer on the recent patch as well. Anyone getting caught out here, you're going to feel it for sure. There must be at least 45, 50 timers. But there's going to be a Dread Nova from distance from Sorry, but not going to find the mark. But just their presence alone is going to be enough to force Flow State out from the pit. It's going to take away some of the vision. Professors still haven't started the objective just yet, and now they will with Survivor jumping over, starting up the Orb Prime. And now this, as you say, could be the game decider. But Jay is not in this fight. He's still dealing with the minion waves. So it's going to be a 4 versus 5 for a few more seconds before Jay gets here. Another Ether Crystal, another Dread Nova connects. So that's going to be Professors taking your Prime, and Flow State run to the hills.
Yeah, now this is always the question, right? The question is always, would it have been better to try and fight there, or is it better to let the objective go? If those are your 2 options, and answers are so like it depends on so many factors. In this situation, I mean, I can't fault Flow State for running away from that, but they do have to fight at some point here. They can't just wait for all the buffs to run out, because by that time their core will be gone.
Absolutely, and that would definitely be a little bit too late, as sorry for just channeling that Obliterate to try and get some damage. They thankfully do still have their fountain behind them to heal themselves up, but of course Professors double bubble buff, the purple hue and the blaze in their heart means that this is a composition that Flow State don't really want to contest, but they might just have to here. Of course, he's going to be the target. Good size of assault shuts down that engage. The Professors simply move from one objective to the other. They're going to turn their attention over towards the left-hand side, but just so much respect being paid towards the Professors team.
No, I mean, at this point, again, they kind of have to, right? But we're still looking at such a big level deficit between Jay and Survivor. Like, if you look at the micro and how they went through this game and how they both treat their ADCs, and the death counts, the elimination counts, like there's so many reasons why Survivor is ahead, but there's also so many reasons why Jay should maybe not be as far behind. And honestly, Flow State's best option is to try and get to a state of the game where everyone's level 18, except for maybe the supports. That would be really awesome if we get there. We are talking about like 45 minutes at that point, but I'm here for it. We only got one more game after this. It's still early. We got time.
Oh, of course, with the schedule being as it is as well, plenty of Predecessor to be played. Of course, even the replay mode trying to give us as long a game as possible with the little skips. Apologies for that, my friends. But we're going to keep battling through as the Professors do just that as well. They're taking down a dual lane inhibitor and moving towards the right-hand side. And Flow State, again, haven't contested. They haven't tried to defend any of these structures. They're simply waiting for someone to overstep. Boulder Toss connects, but just an Ether Crystal comes down and immediately shuts down that entire possibility of an engage. But Flow State, though, it might just be now or never, because if you do not contest, if you do not try to stop this, Professors are just going to simply take the core. There's another siege is going to begin, but with Flow State moving forward, Peak having to be careful, having to respect the Riplash as well, and the Dread Nova is having to be dodged. He's playing the minigame as well, but Professors taking all 3 inhibitors, thinking about a call to go for the end, but with all 5 members, Professors think better of it, and the call is to back away.
Yeah, the primal buff has definitely run out now, so there's an opportunity to fight a little bit more of an even state. And of course, flow state, they're getting stronger and stronger as the game goes on. Professors have a lot of members that are already sort of maxed out in terms of both items and XP. So we are looking at more and more. Again, we're looking at a state where the longer the game goes, the more equilibrium we're going to get from flow state in terms of fighting power. But they're not quite there yet. But again, we're getting closer and closer. And if we get there, that would be the best outcome for flow state. Of course, not for professors. They kind of need to find a way to end this game before that happens. But, they could potentially. Primal Fangtooth is going to be up again in like 20 seconds at most. So we are going to be looking for a team fight. And again, we're looking for that team fight that ends the game or that turns the game completely on its head. But I think either team losing too many members and staying alive it enough can just finish the game. Because even for flow state, they only have like one tier 2 tower and then 2 inhibitors in their way. They can get to the core quite quickly with these respawn timers.
You have to be careful though with the minion waves, the way they are super
They
minions.
really
We'll
do.
be going in towards the base, and this is still the onus is on flow state to do something at this point. Kind of like as bluntly as that, but the more they wait, these minion waves are going to build up, and the minions might just take the core themselves and take the game out of their hands. But they still need to find a way to get through this composition. Sorbet throws down the Obliterate, not going to find the damage. If he does go down to half HP, Simba's going to go big mode, looks fully engaged, going to go for the blink with the boulder top to create some full hits, an immediate impale on towards Simba, and with a Whiplash back, that might just be Jungler going down as Peak tries to find a way in on the other side. But look at the focus fire coming out from the Professors. They take down the solo laner for flow state. Simba able to keep himself alive, but it might not be for too long. Bry running away from 6, and Soul Reaper coming through the stoop, though might be caught out, but still keeping himself alive. And now Soul Reaper is allowed to unleash the damage, and this Twin Blast is here and taking down Jace. Soul Reaper now in a 1 versus 2, but his reinforcements have arrived to save the day, and they're going to turn this fight on its head. The Professors, 1 by 1, it's only the pick on towards Soul Reaper, but if that costs all 5 members, then that is a hashtag worth every single day of the week. No one to stop them. The minion waves are already onto the core as well. The Professors just need to close out this game. Take down the core.
I don't know if they can even get there before the minions kill the core. No, they cannot. They don't even. It's not even possible. That game is over. Flow State did a really, really good job, but every single time they got to that Fangtooth pit and Professors were just standing there waiting, it went bad for Flow State. There was that other moment where they were like kind of dancing around it and went back, and there was the other Fangtooth fight where they sort of got to return and come back into the fight to get it, but most of the time that was Professors just immaculately controlling the space around that pit, setting up the ambushes, knowing the way that their composition can deny any form of initiation by just having a Richter stand there. And of course, having the Argus. Once again, I mean, I'm not going to say the Argus is the reason why they won the game, but the Argus definitely provided a lot of extra damage that finished off eliminations and just provided range that a gadget just couldn't match. So unfortunately, Professor's still looking as good as ever, and maybe even better with an Argus on their side.
Yeah, definitely with that composition, as you say, kind of like there was almost like just a barrier between the Professors and Flow State that just Flow State could never cross really without their death. Like they.
No. I think we lost TJ for one reason or another. I think where TJ was going, there was indeed no way to cross that barrier. The only one that came close to crossing it was Simba, and even their massive health pool couldn't always save them. At that point, you lose that frontliner, and then Peak tries to go in on a flank, and it just doesn't quite work out. But with that, we're going to send it back to the desk to get to both discuss the end of this game, but also to get ready for the last game of this day. The Swiss stage is about to come to an end, and tomorrow we'll see the top 16 in groups.
Thank you, Man of Class and TJ. I hope you're okay. Welcome back to the desk, everybody. For those who are new to the PCC, we are a community-based tournament. We have a goal to unite the community through Predecessor competitive gaming. And you just watched the Professors versus Flow State. What a banger of a match. We are still raising funds for the PCC production and the prize pool. So if you like what you see, exclamation support for our GoFundMe. We've reached our $1,000 goal, but we haven't reached our $3,000 and $5,000 goals yet. We appreciate every follow, every subscription. We're on Discord, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and X. But let's talk about game number 4, Professors versus Flow State. What a banger of a match. It looked like the Flow State was in the driver's seat of the early game, Joey, but what went wrong for Flow State, and how did the Professors secure their victory?
Yeah, so it seems like Flow State have a really solid early game plan for the most part, but however, it started to kind of dismantle itself as the game went on more and more. And part of the reason is because Professors always have shown very strong mid to late game macro team fighting skills. And you see right there in the fact that like a Professor's picking up all 3 primary Fane 2s, their objective control, which is absolutely through the roofs, even though they lost the first few Fane 2s right there in that game. But also, it just seems like Flow State not being as comfortable in the mid to late game team fights. In that last team fight, for example, it seemed like the Rampage was trying to look for like some kind of engagement because they're on a ticking time clock. But then when it ended up happening, it's like the Rampage got completely burst down, and the team was like hesitant to like follow up on that. It kind of seems like the cohesiveness in Flow State is just not flowing that well at all right now in those like later parts of the game.
Yeah, it was just GG's to Flow State, and the Professors moved forward just 4-0. But Sawcap, what else did you notice? How did the Professors win game 4?
Well, it looked like, at least from the early game, like Joey said, Flow State kind of drafted winning side lanes and had priority side lanes, and they picked up those first 2 Fang 2s. But once we got into the team fight stages, I think Professors just played it super, super well. And I think they just had a better team fight, to be honest. We also saw kind of Crazy Fool trading his life for the enemy jungler life before like the first 2 Fang 2s, or first 2 primal Fang 2s, which kind of really got them super, super ahead. So, I mean, they just, I think, navigated the 5v5 team fights a lot better. Didn't really ever see any solid or good engages on Survivor from Flow State, so I don't think they were ever really able to touch that back line.
Yeah, and for our game number 5, we're going to be watching the Professors versus the Chefs yet again. But don't go anywhere, as this is our last broadcast, the last match of our broadcast in our Swiss stage. Keep up with those games, type !bracket. We're going to be back tomorrow, and that's the question: who makes it to the group stages tomorrow and eventually to the main event? That will be on April 20th and April 21st. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. EST is when we'll be live, and only 16 will be advancing. Predecessor gamers will be right back.